Okay, so welcome to the Design Your Healthy Life live show. This is completely live and unedited, so bear with us if we have any background noise or animals or doorbells or anything like that. Today, my guest is Victoria Whitfield, and I'm so excited to have you there. Your energy is just always so high and contagious and enthusiastic, and I just really appreciate that about you. Victoria and I met it's probably quite a few years ago now. We were both in a business school for entrepreneurs that would host live events a couple times a year. So that's how we met. And I've had the privilege of staying connected with you, which I'm really grateful for, and for running into you multiple times over the years at primarily at Mama Gina in New York City at her live events. And for anyone who doesn't know who Mama Gina is, she is all about women's empowerment and having women tap into their feminine energy. And she's just an incredible powerhouse. So it's always so much fun to run into there. So I invited you here today. My mission is to share with people to help them shift their mindset about how they take care of themselves and inspire them to be more proactive and prioritize their health. And so I'm interested in hearing about healing stories and healing work that people do, and just sharing the wonderful work that people do in the world so people know what's available to them and can follow the path to whatever speaks to them wherever they are in their current journey. So thank you so much for being here with me. And let's start with, tell me about your journey, because I know a little bit about what you're doing now, but I don't know how you actually got into the work that you're doing now.
Yeah. So, oh my goddess, thank you, Elaine. Like, I'm so happy that I get to be here and just to sparkle and like send so much more love. And I love your energy. Like, you just have the most beautiful, loving, warm, giving, fabulous energy, goddess. So I'm so happy to get to be here. Yeah. So, a little bit on my backstory, how I got into all of this. I believe it was Robert Bly quoting Jason Hillman when he said that every wound is a womb. Every wound is a womb. Like, the only reason why I got into being like an energy healer for like entrepreneurs and leaders is because like I had to be a healer first for my own big wound. Like, there was the inspiration. It comes from pain. Like, sometimes I've seen that, that for some reason, like, our inspiration for really getting on this path in the first place is actually coming from pain. So for me, I have the type of personality where I am a naturally high achiever. Like, I want to do things right the first time. I like things being perfect or kind of set in a certain way. Achiever is in my strengths finder, like my top 5 strengths. So I'm really about, I'm a get it done kind of girl. I subscribe to that mindset that Napoleon Hill talks about, where anything the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And so this is actually something, though, that was what initiated me on my path as a healer, because before I worked for myself, I ended up being second in command at different like organizations, nonprofits, corporations. I kept being the second command to the founder. And at one in particular, I've been known for this, being a key holder, it's called. I can work by myself. I can run a whole office on my own, and it's really wonderful. So one day I was at a nonprofit, and it's in this big, gorgeous Victorian building on the campus of like an Episcopal church. It was wonderful. And it was a hot day. I went to open the window, and I had a window of opportunity where I could have asked for help. Like, I could have called in, the maintenance guy, say, hey, can you open the windows? They're like heavy original glass. Do you think you could open that for me? I could have, I didn't take that opportunity. I could have, went and turned up the AC or gotten a fan or something because it was hot that day. I didn't do that. And I also could have called someone else, anyone else who would be a little bit more able-bodied, working with big, heavy panes of glass. Now I mentioned a wound. Here it comes. So prepare yourself. I went to open that window, and the weight, like it's one of those old buildings, they have weights in the windows. The weight broke. And so the window fell on my hands.
Oh.
I was literally stuck. I was stuck in that window. And like, there are a lot of nerve endings in our hands. So
Yeah.
it was to the point where I couldn't even make a sound to call for help. And here I am, I'm alone in the building, right? This was the day I got introduced to what it is to have a toxic can-do attitude, where like, I'm not going to ask for help. I'm a strong, independent, yada, yada. And that it ended me up stuck in the window. I was there for 7 minutes before anyone happened to be walking by and found me. But the reason why I describe this as like every wound is a womb, right? Or there's, when we go under the path of being healers, we've got to have something to heal. This for me was my experience to say, wait a minute, I cannot do everything on my own. I cannot do everything on my own. I didn't know that there was such a thing as a toxic can-do attitude. And what I learned from that point forward was about the kindness and the power of being in positive community. Because, you know, my worst fear at the time was going to the hospital with no insurance because I was working at a nonprofit. And lo and behold, this is happening. But I didn't tell anyone that fear. Well, to my surprise, the one thing that started happening once, you know, people found me, were able to get me out of the window, and they called the ambulance. It was the strangest thing. I was in shock. I couldn't speak, but I kept hearing people saying, hey, does Victoria need money? How much money does she need? Does she need money? I can, like, she had better not have to pay for that. Does Victoria need money? Is she all right? Does Victoria need, like, I could give 100, or like, let me call so-and-so. She had better not have to pay for that. They were talking about my worst fear. My worst fear was medical bills. I never told anyone that.
Wow.
So it's my second initiation into believing in manifestation, and that the universe is supporting us, and that there's this non-physical force that can and will take care of you should you be open. Now I got broken open to it. I don't want everybody to have to get hit by a window in order to believe that like the universe has your back. Like, that's not fair. But at the same time, that like, and that was also the first time the founder of the nonprofit, he was into energy and stuff. And so as I was laying there with my hands like shaking and super sore in the hospital bed, he started doing this thing over my hands, not touching them. And he's like, yeah, this is called healing touch. This is called healing touch. And he wasn't physically touching me, but he was describing what kind of looked like noodles that he was pulling out of my hands. And the swelling started going down, like it started to hurt less. So that third initiation into like energy healing and like this holistic approach. So for me, like, I got really curious about all three of those things. And then I looked back into the history of my family, and I never got to meet my grandfather, lo and behold, because he dropped dead at work. Like, he had a massive heart attack, left his 3 girls orphaned, because he was just so competitive and like super duper like high energy, and he was the best salesman at the lumber company where he worked. But at 55, he had a massive heart attack that like he ended up working himself to death, that high level of stress. Or my mother, who I absolutely love, but she almost didn't make it to retirement because her stress level, her high blood pressure was so high working at the corporation that she was, that I remember driving her to the hospital one day, and she's like, I don't know if I should just like, you know, forget waiting until I'm retirement age and just like take the severance package. I don't know if I can take much more of this. Like, this toxic can-do attitude was something that, like, it, at first I got like smacked into being awakened to it, and then I started seeing it around me more and more. And so the more that I got passionate about energy healing, the more I also started noticing that I'm not the only one with a toxic can-do attitude, and the lifestyle that we're hypnotized to think is normal and natural, to have like ridiculously long work days and to work in front of like machines and essentially like kind of be a machine,
Right.
in order to be acceptable. Like this, I started seeing more of that. And so that's why at first I was doing energy healing for me, but that, seeing that more and more, that toxic can-do attitude around me and in the culture and the communities and the people that I care about around me, is what really called me out into being not just an energy healer, but specifically an energy healer for professionals. Like I niched down, but that niche, it came from that experience of my own, like discovering my own toxic can-do attitude,
Yeah.
and helping others with that.
I want to draw our attention to a couple of things that I think are really important about your story. And when you talk about how you weren't aware of it at the time, but then your mother and your grandfather also had this, you're probably aware of this, but not everybody is, from like when I believe Bruce Lipton, who is a cell biologist, talks about this in his book, The Biology of Belief. From the ages of birth through 7, we're like a blank computer and we download the beliefs of our culture around us. So that was probably one of the downloads that you had. So now you have this unconscious programming that this is what your life is supposed to be like. You're supposed to, this is how it is for you. You're going to work long hours. You're going to give all kinds of personal sacrifices. Your health is not going to be on your radar. So you were probably operating from that belief system. And then of course you recognize that pattern after. And also, that experience you had being caught in the window, not everybody would have had an awakening to that with that kind of event. I think some people keep getting smacked over the head and having those kind of things, and they're not paying attention to, wait, there's something that needs to shift in my life. This is why this keeps happening to me. I'm actually attracting this, not consciously. This is not a choice, but partially because of those unconscious belief patterns that we have that we're not even aware that we have. Because once you have that unconscious belief, then your thoughts are coming out of that unconscious programming that you're not aware of, and that actually creates the reality of your life. So it's another way to explain it from like a quantum science perspective about how that showed up in your life. And it's fantastic that you paid attention and you got the messages like, yeah, this is a wake-up call for me and it's time for me to shift and change. So you said that you were doing some energy work on yourself after that, based on the healing that you had experienced from your, I believe it said your coworker when you were at the hospital with your hands. And then share how that evolved into the work that now that you share with other people.
So like that really, it really opened my eyes that there's more to reality than I thought before. Now, like I come from like, I grew up in the church, right? And all of that. So there's a certain framework of spiritual reality that I was brought up in as a Protestant Baptist Christian. And like, for me, this like pulling noodles out of someone's energy in their hand or something, that was like, where I grew up, like that would be like, oh, you're doing witchcraft or you're like doing devil stuff. I feel like it immediately, the unknown is like put into into hell. Like that's like, you are official. If it doesn't make sense, like you're obviously like a witch or evil or something,
right?
Like that. And for me, I started getting curious because I saw the benefits of it. And for me, it wasn't just the physical like experience of like the window and all of that, but during that time in my life I was also struggling with really low self-esteem, and I was pretty disconnected from my feelings and my emotions, especially as a high achiever. It's like how you feel doesn't matter. Get it done, essentially. Or suck it up, stop being over dramatic. You're being a bit too much. Like, just, go do the thing. Like that for me, I I'm a very sensitive person, but it's interesting how painful it can be, um, being an emotional or creative or a really deeply feeling person, but performing within a paradigm of like precision and non-emotion like that. So
Yeah.
I was really suffering from some low self-esteem, people pleasing big time. And what I found, the more that, start to dabble a little bit here in crystals, or dabble a little bit here in angels, or dabble a little bit here in chakras, or dabble a little bit, what I noticed is how good I started to feel the more that I learned and started experiencing different, going to holistic expos or eating cleaner foods or getting energy clearings. The How I felt was lighter or brighter or clearer over time. And so along that path, I came into the practice of Reiki. And that like is you'll have to invite me back because that's like a whole nother story. Which basically ends in me like witnessing like something in front of my eyes happening that like I like it just showed, okay, this is real. This is real. So when I came into the practice of Reiki, then I feel like I found the one thing that was like my healing journey. Like we all find, I believe, our own like path that's like
Yep.
this is the thing that's going to lift us up or we really resonate with. And so I started studying Reiki more and sharing it, because in the practice of it, just like with massage therapy, although it is not massage, like you have to practice on others in order to hone the skill and to connect to the practice more. But with that, as I started sharing Reiki, people kept coming back to me. I was just volunteering at a local metaphysical bookstore, like while I was off hours, because I was working full time at that time, and people would just kept coming back to say like, oh, I want to, can you do the energy clearing thing again, blah blah blah. And it was, for me, it was my passion. And that went on for some time, and then the strangest things started happening. They were coming to me regularly, Elaine, and getting annoyed that I wouldn't take payment. So like for me, this is like now Source is starting to work on my money mindset, but like for me, like this is my passion, I'm volunteering, I like da, da, da. But they kept coming back a lot, and I had never experienced this before, where someone would be coming and receive so much value that they would start to feel a sense of guilt. Well, I didn't know. I had no idea that I was incurring guilt on people.
Right.
And
You started it out doing it for yourself and practicing with other people, and you were having fun, but people were getting so much value out of it. They wanted to make sure that they were giving you what you deserved for the work.
yeah, to the point where at about the 7th month mark, like I had a few people even get angry of like, listen, I can't keep, like, I really want to keep coming, but you have got to give me a way to support you. Like, this is me
Right.
paying to work on
Right. Because they want to keep taking advantage of the benefits they're receiving, and they want to give back to you.
Yeah, blew my mind. I didn't know that that was such a thing. And I was like, okay, well, you could pay my teacher. So like at least they could have their like giving a money experience. And that worked for a little bit, but then people were like, no, really, Victoria, like I'd much rather.
They wanted to give to you.
And
Or giving to them.
yeah, and so that's when I opened to first starting receiving payments for doing energy healing. And again, with my upbringing, it's like you don't get money for doing spiritual stuff like that. No, like it's more of you do it for the satisfaction of honoring God or whatever they want to call that. Um, but that was my first experience of opening to receiving money. And my teacher at the time, he enrolled with Fabian and brought me as his plus one, because he was more entrepreneurial. He's more like kind of like from that chiropractic world, they tend to be like more into marketing and business.
Yes.
And so I had never seen anything like that. I didn't know anything about owning a business, but that was where I learned how to start marketing, how to run your business, and all of that. And it
Right.
grew over time.
Yeah. So I was just wanted to make reference. You mentioned Fabienne, and she is the director or the creator of the school where Victoria and I met, the School for Entrepreneurs. And she was very much client acquisition and marketing based, but also very much into the mindset piece and the attraction and being in alignment with who you are, so that you're attracting the right people and serving in the way that you're meant to.
Yeah.
So that was I can see how that was a natural progression for you, because you were falling into the work that you loved, and you were aligning with the people that you were meant to serve. So that introduction was perfect, because it brought you into the business aspect of it.
Everything happens for a reason, right? And so with that process, over the years, like I was with Fabienne for 7 total years. And
Wow.
yeah, after about 4 years with her, there was this one assignment that she gave, and I like started getting clients, and it built momentum over time. And I eventually had enough clients where I was making around 2,500 a month, where I left my other working at the nonprofit to now only doing my own work. But she had this assignment of okay, look at all the people that you have attracted, all the clients that you are serving, and just look for common denominators. See what they all have in common, especially the ones who are the most invested, who are the most enthusiastic, the most pleasure to work with, who refer you the most, like all of your A+ peeps. And I didn't know this, but when I did that assignment, I found that every single one of my best clients all were business owners, and I was not targeting them. Was not targeting them. And so I'm all about continuing to soul search. I'm like, well, why? Who am I that I am attracting other business owners? And so I started asking that question and looking at it, and I didn't realize this until doing this assignment, but every single person in my immediate family owns their own business and has always talked about believing in being a self-actualizing person, or positive mindset, or you can do it kind of a thing. I never every single person in my immediate family was a business owner. So I was attracting who I was, and I had no idea. And that was when, so as a Reiki master, I niched down, because wait a minute, if this is who I really am, these are my people. So let me focus on serving my people. And that's when the energy work that I was doing as a Reiki master shifted from just doing energy healing to now specifically doing energy healing and clearing for entrepreneurs, conscious entrepreneurs. And so the programs that I've developed over time create this lifestyle shift to support the health and the energy, right, and the confidence of conscious entrepreneurs, but based in the Reiki perspective and Reiki philosophy. But the programs that I created just really would wrap my ideal client, my people who are conscious entrepreneurs, in the right level of support, so that they can continue to get out there and serve in a big way and not work themselves into the hospital. Right?
Yeah. I was just thinking about how all your experience unfolded so beautifully, because you came from that toxic can-do attitude, which is so prevalent in the business world, and not just in the corporate world, but from an entrepreneurial perspective. And that people, and I certainly subscribe to this for a long time as well, we feel like, just get it done and nose to the grind and push, push, push. And if I don't put in this hours, then my business isn't going to be. And that's such a damaging place to come from. And certainly, everyone needs to put their head down and get their work done in order to be successful. But when you shift into that state of coming from a place of center and aligning with the people that you're meant to serve, and offering the services that you're meant to in a very heart-centered and just being in service way, and being in the flow of your work, it's such a different space than that, just that push, 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 push. So I can see how your experience moved right into that, and it helps you identify, like, because you came from that environment, you already understood what that, not only what that felt like, but what it can do to your body and your health and your life, so that you could serve people and help them move out of that dangerous space of working from that perspective into that, now I'm in alignment and I'm going with the flow of my work, and I'm not going to work myself to death, and I am my business, so I need to take care of myself. Oh, that's amazing. That's just amazing. What a beautiful, beautiful progression.
I love it. Oh, you got it, Elaine. Like, you nailed it. You nailed it. Yay. Oh, I love it. And what's so good is that the underlying message, and you hit it right there, is the underlying message is loving yourself, loving myself, right? Loving yourself. Whether you're in a business or not, whether you're working for a corporation or not, because like how I was saying before, that painful experience of having your inner truth of like, I'm someone who's a deeply feeling person, right? But I have to like put on my corporate mask and suppress all of my truth, suppress the feelings, right? Suppress the juice that I have, like as a vibrant woman. No, I gotta stuff myself down in order to be acceptable. That does so many awful inflammatory things to our body, like that. And it's an act of violence against ourselves, under the guise of like, oh, I'm just trying to be like professional or polite, or
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
I do. And when you started to describe it, I had this image of like you just being like zipped into like a scuba suit, being locked into there, like kind of like a mummy. And it's such a disservice to the if you're an employee and you're working for someone and you feel like you need to zip yourself in like that too, it's such a disservice to the company if that's the environment they've created, because the gifts and the talents that you have are not able to show up in that space, so they're not getting even a fraction of what you could be capable of providing to them. And it's just so tragic that you have to show up and do your job and not show up as yourself and give your best. And hopefully that will shift in the corporate world, because not everyone's meant to own their own business, and people have a lot to offer, and if you allow them, if the space is there for them to show up, they're going to bring it. And it's things.
100%. Over the last 6 years, I've spoken at AT&T corporate here, at their headquarters in Bedminster, like about 2 times a year, over and over. And I give the same presentation on like being more mindful in the workplace. And like I use those like hot topic words, but what I really do during the presentation is I really make a case for embracing your energy while you're at work, right? Embracing your spiritual health, minding your health while you're at work. And so I did another one of those presentations this year, and like what you said just reminded me of this experience that I had. Usually I have my slides, and it's like the first few slides of like, oh, I've studied here, I did like, very corporate.
Yep, the credentials, and yep.
Mm-hmm. And everyone's, politely sitting in there, whatever, and they grab their free chips on the way in, because this is like right, it's like 60 or 100 people in the room, like, okay, we're gonna learn about mindfulness in the workplace, sort of a situation. And I this time I had a download from my guides. I listen to my spirit guides all the time, in business especially. And my guide said, no, start with a story. And so what was even crazier is like, all right, I came out from behind the podium, and listen, some of you have been to this presentation before, and I know you all love it when we do a meditation live here in person and everyone falls asleep and it's fabulous. And before before I launch into all of the statistics that I have around how, like, you know, you spend half your waking life here at work, right? Like, before I launch into all the statistics on how, like, your productivity improves when you take 10 short, like, couple minute breaks or few seconds breaks throughout the hour, so that your brain, like, really thrives on doing multiple different things instead of just focusing on one thing. Before I launch into all the statistics and presentation, I'm going to tell you a story, because my guides told me to share with them why this matters. And as holistic healers, as energy therapists, as naturopaths, all the people who are tuned in here, people who live the holistic lifestyle, you know, we geek out. Like, I've got my glasses, you've got your glasses too. We're nerdy girls. We geek out on all of the wonderful energy stuff, or the natural and the organics, and we care. We nerd out. But there was a time before when we didn't have, like, our fabulous nerdful perspective on it. And what bridges the gap is actually the story of how I got from here to here, right? And the story is that wound that I talked about. So when we're able to say, well, what was your shifting point? What was the epiphany that you had that put you on this path to give a, you know, to give a 2 cents, you know, about meditation? Like, why do you care? Why do you care? And so I came out from, and behind that podium, I said, this is the company that, like, I come to year after year, because this is a devotion of love. AT&T provided for my family when after my mother was divorced, and they gave her a chance to support me and my 2 older brothers and put us through school and have, like, a safe place to live and have wonderful education. Like, I'm here out of devotion to the company that supported us in that. So at first, they, like, people perked up and felt seen. And then I said, on top of that, this is also the company that nearly killed my mother several times, because towards the end of her employment here, we were bringing her to the hospital from a high level of stress. And what we didn't know at the time, and she's still alive, like, she made it through, but what we didn't know at the time was how she could have better taken care of herself while she was at work, rather than bottling it up, driving her blood pressure through the roof, constantly trying to be, right, an overachiever and meeting the deadlines and working all hours and all of that. And, like, as I was saying that, you saw the look on people's faces go, like they were having buy-in because they felt that. And I said, so now I'm going to launch into the material, but I want you to know where I'm coming from. I'm here to honor you out of love and respect, but also I want you to be around for your children, because I never got to meet my grandfather because he worked himself to death, dropping dead at 55 years old. And so, for, like, that sunk them back in. So by the time I said that, and then I launched into my PowerPoint slides, that was the most powerful one out of all of the, like, the 6 years that I've been presenting.
Right, because they could identify with it, and it was such a personal story too for them to share, to know the story of your mom and how good the company was to her, but also how her work ethic and the expectations, you know, could have killed her had she not made choices for herself. I think it's such an incredibly powerful story that we are the only ones who can be responsible for our health. And, you know, I understand there's a ton of fear around losing jobs and things like that. And people, you know, you should just be grateful that you have a job and you get a paycheck. And yes, I think, you know, that's important. We all need that to survive. And at the same time, you need to look out for yourself and make sure that your job is not killing you, because we do live in a land of opportunity. And for you to think that, for anyone to think that they're, you know, they just need to be grateful and that they need to stick it out, it's a really damaging place to be from, because if you open yourself up to it, you could be very surprised at how your life could change and how many opportunities that you currently can't see could show up for you. Just like what happened with you, you know, with your job, you were working really hard. It sounds like you really liked your work, but you were meant to do something else. And by following that pathway, people were starting to throw money at you, like, I'm doing this for fun, and it's just like, oh, I could actually have a business out of that, like, just the whole point is that you have to take care of yourself and don't box yourself into thinking that this is the only way, because when you start to shift and open up and take care of yourself and listen to your calling and pay attention to your skills, you could be very surprised at what shows up in your life and how things change. So I think that's a really, really powerful story, and something that I don't think enough people think about. I certainly have clients that feel very, very boxed into corporate jobs. And it's literally stealing their health and killing them. And I tell them all the time, and it's just like they just have that fear factor, and it breaks my heart. I'd love to see everybody move out of that space, and for the corporate world also to accept that if they shift their culture a little bit, that people will bring their skills and talents in a much bigger way than they're allowed to do right now. So a lot of really important stories in there. So that's awesome that you share your work with AT&T and are hopefully shifting some of those people in that corporate space. I'd like to hear more about the offerings that you currently have, though, in your private practice.
Yeah. So in my private practice, what I provide primarily is my VIP program is my main offering. And this is for entrepreneurs who are essentially, they are seeing that their stress level is affecting their finances, like their level of stress for whatever reason. Maybe they've had an injury, maybe they've lost someone, right, and the grief is at an all-time high, or maybe they're having such a hard time being able to focus that they're just so scattered and stressed all the time. The stress level is affecting their bottom line, so that they're not able to get out there and make the sales, to market, to manage their team. They just don't have the energy over here because the stress has gotten higher and higher, that it's affecting their performance. So in my VIP program, it's called the Visionary Shaman Circle. We craft an entire 12 months of support around making sure that your stress level goes down, because we're raising the volume on how much self-care and spiritual nourishment you're receiving. So I'm not a business coach. I'm not like, I don't do that. I'm not even really a life coach. I'm a Reiki master, right? So because of that, what we talk about in the Visionary Shaman Circle is how to listen to your intuition, how to balance and clear your energy, how to set up your environment so it supports you in staying grounded and clear, and like creating a culture of positivity around you, how to tune into your spirit guides so that you're listening to your intuition rather than feeling scattered by how many people are telling you to do X, Y, and Z, or what so-and-so is doing. Like it really raises the volume of how much self-love you have because you're deepening your spiritual practice. And in that program, we have quarterly live retreats, and that's where we do meditations and masterminds. And each one has a different theme. One can be learning more about how to tune into your intuition. Another is about how to practice energy work and how to clear your body's energy. Another one is how to specifically use your intuition for strategic planning in business. And what was the other one is also about money mindset. So really opening up to believing that the universe has your back as an entrepreneur. And when I'm talking about money, it's not just about the dollars in the bank. Like I'm blessed and grateful that as I've gotten clearer with my own personal message, the last month I had a $40,000 month, and it's wonderful. And like, this is not about $40,000. This is about the impact that I'm making, right? The more that we support our entrepreneurs as conscious entrepreneurs, loving themselves, feeling confident, feeling lit up, right? And grounded, healthy in their bodies, healthy in their environments, and the way that they move through, not just at home, but also at work, right? the more we support that, the more they can get out there and share their healing gifts. And because we're making a greater impact, because we can shine brighter, that's why there's the dollars. I mean, every entrepreneur, like I serve entrepreneurs, we all want to hear about the money, like we want to hear about, but the reason why the dollars are coming is because you're standing in your truth and you're serving the community at that level. So that's what we.
Yeah. There's so many important things that you said that I want to draw our attention to. And one of them is about the money, because I think as the possibility of wealth increased and people's earning potential increased, there was a lot of, and still is a lot of, consumerism and commercialism. And we have this vision, I don't know if it's TV or if it's real or whatnot, but that people who have a lot of money are very, can be very wasteful and ostentatious and spend money on things that don't matter, and at the expense of all the other people that are suffering, so it was the privileged few. And like, for an example, in the Gilded Age, when people had Newport mansions and spent $1 million on a party, which is an astronomical amount of money given the time of that day. And then there were people that didn't have food, that were working for them. And so, that division. And so we have this negative idea about money and what that means, but having extra money when you're being in service and showing up and giving gifts to people, and earning money from it, it just increases your ability to help even more people. So there's a massive shift in the way that a lot of entrepreneurs, conscious entrepreneurs is a terminology we use a lot, are spending their money. And yes, they still have the ability to join programs and travel and have that kind of luxury if they choose to do so. But it's more about having that ability to extend that reach and help more people. And the corporate culture, and not just the corporate culture, has been so toxic to see people stepping into their own power and creating businesses that are integrity and are in service. But people are still working from that mindset of nose to the grind so that they can't expand their businesses and be more in that place. That's really tragic. So the work that you're doing, helping people shift out of that, the way things used to be that they work, so they can be more and showing their gifts and changing the world, is just so incredibly powerful. And a lot of people watch a lot of TV or read newspapers, and the political climate and the environmental climate, there's so much scary, oppressive things, and news is often derived in a very fear-driven way. And staying connected to what's happening in the business world, particularly with the entrepreneurs that are working out of integrity and helping people and being in service in this way, this is one of the things that, by staying connected to, gives me so much hope. And I'm getting tearful as I say it, because it's such an emotional thing for me. To see what people are doing and to see how people are serving others and how they're working in integrity and creating better quality products is just so incredibly powerful. And that's what gives me hope on a day-to-day perspective. So the fact that you're serving those people so they can do more of that, it's just this beautiful circle. So powerful.
Yes, oh my goodness. Oh, like I'm hugging myself to imagine I'm hugging you with joy.
The light is shifting, so I'm getting this like glowy thing on my face right now.
I love it. You're seeing the light. Goddess, this is gorgeous. And what's so beautiful about what you said is that the information stream can be entirely different when you just shift your perspective. So if you're like, oh, let me read the news.
Yes.
It's basically like, let me shove a ton of fear porn into my face, like all on a 24-hour news cycle. Things to make you feel small and controlled and
fear for your life and the continuation of the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm. And
all that's very real, but there are lots and lots of people who are also trying to change all those things.
Yeah, like this, you can plug into that. You can plug into the fear hypnosis, or you can plug into the creator hypnosis over.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be hypnotized, I personally subscribe to being hypnotized into my power, being hypnotized into my creator, into positive. Right.
Right, because the fear-based stream is the one of disempowering, and it can leave you frozen and an inability to act or have any hope. And the other one is the one that lifts you up and moves you into action and gives you hope and connects you to people that are doing great things.
100%, 100%. That makes me think of, I mean, a lot of that book from is now kind of obsolete, but the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, I remember him talking about this thing called an information diet. And I'm like, what is this? And he's the reason why I'm so focused and able to get done in less time than the average person's because I don't watch any news. I will see headlines as I walk by the newspaper, or if I'm talking to another human being and they say, hey, did you hear blah, 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 right? Or if I'm seeing things going on in my community that I can impact, great. But other than that, I'm going on an information diet because I'm a man of purpose, like I'm a woman of vision. I know what I'm here to do, and I don't want any
Stay focused.
100%. Like this, we're not in the like the information age anymore. We're actually in the attention age, I've heard it called. So like our ability, my ability to focus is everything now. And how things are moving is with online and it being so visual, or the way people do marketing or create art, like it's super duper visual to control and direct your attention and focus. So our ability to become the master or the mistress of our own ability to create focus, to create on demand, to see and have our own perspective. This is everything, right? Everything you need is right between your two ears. Your mind and your ability to focus is everything. And if you are distracted, this just means you need to get and start lifting and building that focus muscle, because if you are not directing your attention, somebody is.
Yeah, and it's all about coming back to yourself and reconnecting with your own gifts and your own strategies and your own intentions and understanding what you want. And it's the only way that you can be in service and be happy and have health. And it's really important to keep coming back and moving away from those distractions. Absolutely. I think that's a fairly good segue into what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to wrap things up with you is because when we were talking briefly on the phone, setting up this interview, we talked a little bit about affiliate issues, and our conversation, I think, was so important that I wanted to draw some attention to that. And what came up with both of us, we were both in agreement for is, and this links back to a lot of the corporate culture and being out of integrity. A lot of people, well, just in the marketing world, so you turn on the TV, you open a magazine, whatever, you get bombarded by advertisement, people trying to sell you stuff. And if you have something that you're concerned about and you get this message that gets your attention, it might be something to pay attention to. But there's a lot of misalignment, and a lot of intention is only about making money. And I've been disappointed to see that even in the entrepreneurial world to some degree, where I've been asked to promote somebody's information or a book or a program without actually being given the opportunity ahead of time to actually expose myself, immerse myself in that information or knowledge or offering in order to understand whether or not it aligns with my message and what I want to share with my community, which I protect fiercely, because everybody's time is important, and being allowed in somebody's inbox is a privilege. And I don't want to be I never want to be just making money. And thank God I'm not in the position where I have to be like, oh, I need this money or else like my kids aren't eating tonight. I'm so grateful that I'm not in that position, but I always want to be acting out of integrity with any kind of money that I'm making, whether it's the way I serve my private clients or the offerings that I'm giving to my online community. And so if somebody approaches me and asks me to share their information just to get it out there in the world, I need to know what it is and digest it and actually be able to get behind it before I can recommend something. And we talked about that, and you were in complete agreement with that. And I just thought it was a really important issue to bring up, because I think there's so much distrust now, or I have that. Like I can tell when someone's marketing to me and just trying to sell me something. And if it's an area that I have an interest in, I might pursue it anyway, just to see what it's all about. But I'm never, ever going to share it with somebody else without being comfortable with it on my own. And so I just wanted to kind of open that conversation up with you, and you can add to that in any way that you feel free to, because I know we're in agreement how important that is to only be sharing information. And like the whole purpose of that initial call that we had is just to get comfortable with each other and be like, hey, this is what we want to talk about. But honestly, if I didn't feel in alignment with what you were saying to me, there's no way that I would have invited you to share this live and to share it with my audience in any way, because that's just not what I'm about. And I know that that's the same for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I believe it was Maya Angelou who said that people don't remember what you say. People don't remember what you do. They remember how you made them feel. And the chills when I say that. We share a similar top value, and that's of safety. Like, I want to feel safe. And parts of the ways that I feel safe is being in the presence of someone in high integrity, being in the presence of someone who prioritizes and understands the importance of health, and also being in the presence of someone who orients to love. No matter what is going on, they will find their orientation to love and unification rather than like confrontation or division or fear. So with that, the more that we can promote the feeling of being safe, the better. And the reason why I say that is when it comes to sharing other people's products and services and programs, if I'm the person who is the promoter or the sharing person, not the person who has the program, that means I am putting my name and my energy on your thing. Right? And for the people who I care about is who I'm going to be sharing anything with. And if my top priority is to make sure that I feel safe, you best believe that the people that I love and care about and serve, that's my top priority as well, is to make sure that they feel safe and protected. So if I encounter like a product or a service or something that I don't know about, I would be out of integrity sharing that without having experienced that safe feeling first. Does this make sense? Yep. So with that, like, okay, I'm a Reiki master, and over the years, it's been the most interesting thing. Maybe this is part of their company model or targeting or something like that, but for some reason, whenever I go to expos or go out networking, I will always happen upon an oil lady, like an essential oils lady. And I think essential oils are awesome. But they hear that I do Reiki and they're like, you got to join my MLM. Or like they zoom right in to knowing that I do energy healing. What they wouldn't know, though, and this is the integrity piece, is that if they were to ask me, like, well, how do you feel about oils? This is something that you use yourself personally. Then I would have the ability, okay, I'm served. I feel open to step in and say, well, actually, I've tried oils in the past. And when they're 100% essential oils, when I personally, this is my body, when I personally come in contact with them, I actually start getting dizzy. I get very, very dizzy. And that, for me, that's my own body's reaction. So that's why I am not an oils promoter, not because I think that oils are bad or something like that. It's not going to work. But I don't get asked that question.
Right.
Right. And so this is what we're talking about, where people are like, oh, well, why don't you become an affiliate? Why do you try this, smell it? And then they'll even try and splash it on me. I'm like, whoa, hey, like, I don't want to get dizzy. But they're like not even really, and that I can't say that like every single oils lady is like that. I don't want to generalize, but my overwhelming experience has been of their like, just like the perfume ladies in Macy's, where they're like, a spritz, you only gotta try it.
And then you stink for the rest of the day and you can't stand the smell. Yeah.
And I understand that they feel
yeah, you're being bombarded. You're not being offered.
Exactly. So this level of grounding and having more of a human conversation, like I 100% agree with you. Like, and that's been my own experience. I've also had, to share another story without sharing names, I've had the experience of, okay, who I am, I'm a celebrant. I love celebrating. Like, if you haven't noticed yet, I'm already on auto clap.
Yeah, always clapping.
Yeah, I'm a celebrator. And when I find something or someone that I do like, I tend to say, "Oh my God, go check out!" Like I'm the town crier. It's how I'm wired. I love celebrating. Yeah, it brings me joy. Well, I've also had the experience of I've done this. I've even kind of busted people's businesses because I've sent so many or celebrated it to them.
Yeah.
What I'll see is, and this maybe it's my own healing, but what I've found is that 9 times out of 10, there's no like, oh, thank you so much for sending me that person. How can I support you back? Like, there's this readiness to receive the money and the referrals and all of that. But meanwhile, I'm celebrating, and I don't know if the person got received over there until the person that I sent comes back to me. Oh my God, thank you for connecting me with so and so. I love it. And I'm like, oh wow, really? For the first maybe like 5, 10, 11 times that happened, that was out of the joy and goodness of my heart. But when we're talking about 200 or 300 times, then it starts feeling a little strange. So,
right.
Yeah.
I understand completely what you mean. Yeah.
So being able to take care of and honor the people who have helped you grow your mission and purpose, like for me, I really value that. And that's why in my own affiliate programs, like, I'm very serious. Even if the people that I'm telling who want to join my affiliate programs, I'm like, listen, if you send me someone, I make money and I am going to give you kickback. Like, I know maybe you're like, no, Victoria, I'm okay. Like, this is just something that I do that makes me happy or something. No. I want you to know.
Right.
Like,
yes.
out of integrity for me personally, I'm going to celebrate you. And I am also going to make sure that you get something in return financially. Like,
right, because it's mutually beneficial. Right. Yes.
So I remember talking.
It kind of goes back to that, the story where you were sharing when you were originally doing Reiki and people started like, I want to give you money. It's like, so, someone is giving you something that's valuable and you want to recognize their contribution and be reciprocal about it, and not in necessarily in a formal way, but just in appreciation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful story. It's a much different space when you're in alignment and working in integrity than just, it's very, very different from promotion and selling and trying to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really different. And I have to say that I can spot marketing copy and salesy kind of stuff like immediately, and it's such a turn off for me that I probably miss some potentially valuable products or information because I can't even go down that path. Like, you're just trying to sell to me, and I shut down and I just pull away immediately. So I think it's really valuable to recognize when people are being in integrity and that their offers are coming from a genuine place of being in service and trying to be helpful to you, and paying attention to your own, what resonates with you, as opposed to just being sold to. And it can be hard because we are bombarded with messages. I heard something recently, like the average person gets exposed to like 1,000 advertisements or pitches a day or something, like ridiculous. And going about our day lost in our own heads, we can be absorbing this information without being aware of it. It can actually change your mindset and your thoughts and confuse you and lead you down the wrong path. So not that you always have to be paying attention, but be aware that there's a lot of manipulation and really think for yourself and do some research and talk to some people and make sure that it resonates with you, no matter who you're hearing it from. It's got to be right for you, no matter what.
Mhm.
I thank you for the opportunity to have that twist to our conversation, because I think it's really critical, and for what you added to that, because I think that was really valuable. And I hope that's in service to anybody that happens to pass on this information. So I want to wrap things up. I'm so grateful for your time today. It was so lovely being with you. This, I do these connections with people because, again, because I want to share great information, but it's so fulfilling to me. It's something that I really enjoy and have so much fun with. And I'm really grateful for your time and for you showing up here. So is there anything that you want to share? And of course, I have your contact information. I want to share it in the show notes so that if anybody's looking for you, there's a quick access and a quick link. So if just look for that. This is live right now, so the information isn't there, but I'll add that as soon as possible. So is there anything that you wanted to share before we say goodbye?
Oh my goddess. Oh, so first of all, I have to honor and celebrate you just for opening up this conversation to, of course, reconnect and sparkle together. Yay! I love being with you, Elaine. And I also want to celebrate how you've opened and leaned into critical conversations that we need to have as conscious people, right? About being in integrity, about prioritizing our health, or minding our mindset in this high level of information overload and exposure that we have. I want to honor you for having the courage to open up that space and have this platform for having these critical conversations. I'm so grateful for you. Oh my queen. Yay. So happy about that. And before we sign off, if anyone wants to know more about the healing work that I do, you're welcome to come and check me out on Facebook, Sensei Victoria Whitfield. You can do a search there. And we also have the Entrepreneur Master Manifestors group, where we give more support. It's free in the Entrepreneur Master Manifestors group. It's hundreds of entrepreneurs from all over the world that are just keeping each other in a higher vibration and keeping these conscious conversations going. So I would love to invite everyone all over there. And if you haven't yet listened, to everyone who follows Elaine, if you haven't listened, she was a guest on my podcast, on the Journeypreneur podcast on iTunes. Go back and check out her episode. It was absolutely fabulous. And thank you for having been a guest, Elaine. Mwah!
Thank you so much.